1820, the Missouri Compromise, designed to ease the issue of slavery and growing North-South tensions. It would set off a chain of events that would lead directly to the Civil War. The Missouri Compromise, through its effects for the next 40 years, was the central catalyst for the Civil War.
The Missouri Compromise was not the first act to limit slavery in the United States. The Northwest Ordinance of 1787 forbade slavery in the Northwest Territory, serving as a precursor to the Missouri Compromise. It also set up how territories would be admitted as states to the Union. The next act of legislation dealing with slavery in territories was the Missouri Compromise. It admitted Missouri as a slave state, Maine as a free state, and forbade slavery north of the southern border of Missouri in the remaining Louisiana Territory. This compromise was effective until two later events would cause it to be declared unconstitutional. One of these was the Kansas-Nebraska Act, which caused the remaining territory from the Louisiana Purchase to be divided into the Kansas Territory and the Nebraska Territory. These territories would decide on the issue of slavery by popular sovereignty, which was championed by Stephen Douglas. This negated the Missouri Compromise's no slavery rule in that territory. It also caused a divide in the Democratic Party into South and North, or those who supported Douglas's decision and those who didn't. The Dred Scott decision of 1857 would also eliminate the Missouri Compromise. Dred Scott sued for his freedom on the grounds that he had lived for a long period of time in a territory where slavery was prohibited. The decision was that he had no right to sue because he was not a citizen. The Supreme Court went farther to say that all blacks could never be citizens, and that because slaves were private property, that it was unconstitutional to forbid slavery in territories, which declared the Missouri Compromise unconstitutional. In the North, where the Missouri Compromise was held as sacred, this decision was infuriating, deepening the sectional divide.
John Brown, an extreme abolitionist, moved to Kansas, where slavery was being decided over popular sovereignty due to the Kansas-Nebraska Act, and murdered 5 slaveholders there. He then moved to Harper's Ferry, where he raided the federal arsenal and tried to cause a slave revolt. He failed, was tried and convicted in Virginia State Court, and was hung. Brown was seen as an evil, murderous abolitionist in the South for his acts of violence, causing a Southern mistrust of the North. The Northern abolitionists saw him as a heroic martyr, causing anger towards the courts that convicted and executed him.
Another compromise to ease the slavery issue was the Compromise of 1850. Its admittance of California as a free state upset the sectional balance in Congress, and its abolishment of the slave trade in Washington, D.C. pleased the North. The South's main gain from the compromise was the Fugitive Slave Act. This required citizens to help capture runaway slaves, denied the runaways a right to a jury trial, and fined or imprisoned those who helped slaves. This act infuriated Northern abolitionists, who felt even more compelled to end slavery. It also forced people to take a stand on slavery due to its national effects and attention. The abolitionists refused to enforce the act, making Southerners stop and question if they belonged in a union with those who openly defied the federal courts. The issue of the Fugitive Slave Act, Bleeding Kansas, and the future actions of the United States towards slavery came down to the election of 1860. The Republican candidate was Abraham Lincoln, a young politician from Illinois. The Democratic Party, divided into North and South, nominated Stephen Douglas and John Breckinridge, respectively. Another party, devoted to preserving the Union, nominated John Bell. Lincoln won the election, and South Carolina, who had threatened to secede if he won, did so. 10 more states followed, and the Civil War began. The Missouri Compromise was designed to prevent a war over slavery, but set off a chain of events that led directly to that war, and fortunately, to the abolition of slavery.